We're talking all about inbound lead. And I'm going to explain the difference between the terminology of like inbound and outbound. And that way you can grasp the concept, because a lot of people on this stream, or even the Flip with Rick, or even the Zach In stream, you guys are so focused on outbound leads, you don't even realize some of the opportunities that are in front of you. I'm going to talk to you about some of the advantages of doing inbound leads. I'm going to talk about cost, the time and energy it takes, and how to scale it up. And if you haven't considered it, this is the one definition. So you have inbound and you have outbound. Inbound, most of you are used to it. This is where, I'm sorry, I'm mixing them up. Most of you are focused on outbound. Outbounding, an example is you get a list and you cold call that list. You are making the phone calls. You reach out and you just dial. You might be reaching out and doing SMS text blasting. That, once again, an example of outbound marketing. If you're reaching out and trying to connect with real estate agents, that is not a starter strategy, but that is a type of outbound marketing. You see, outbound, you have to initiate, you have to go on the attack and make the phone call. And if your list is free or not, that is an example of outbound marketing. What we're talking about today is inbound. And you should get excited for this one, because think about inbound is they're actually calling you, they're contacting you. What you have to understand is a lot of people like, which is better? Honestly, the only real distinction is inbound leads can be more scalable, but the downside is you're going to have to spend money. But here's the little clue, guys. Even when you do inbound leads, they'll still chew you out. So I don't want you to think it's like a safe all, no one's ever going to light you up. People got a lot of time on their hands, and when they get pissed off, they call and even light you up, even on inbound marketing. So now you know the difference is, one, you're reaching out to the seller, and then that's outbound, and inbound is when they're reaching out to you. Now, how do they reach out to you? Real simple. 9 times out of 10, it's a phone call. Occasionally it's an email. Very rarely it's a text. What would the other way? I guess you could do it via fax, and then like a one-page landing page that pretty much gets forwarded to your email. And that's how they're going to reach out to you. So you've got to understand, outbound leads, you chase the seller. And remember the difference here, inbound leads, the sellers reach out to you. So predominantly phone number is going to be your best source for inbound leads. No, guys, never ever leave it up to a website, because people are lazy about filling in like web pages, especially a one-page landing page. I'm here to tell you, the best inbound contact point is always going to be your phone number. Your virtual phone number, whatever it is, completely up to you, but you got to understand that is the primary way. I see so many people try to leave an email or like a website. People won't do it. They're really lazy. So people know that if they call someone on the phone, they can usually talk to someone. So let's talk about the pros and cons of inbound leads. And you've got to understand this. So many people think it's like such a quick fix, and it's not. You really got to educate yourself and think about it. So let's talk about the easy part, the pros, right? Number one, it's extremely efficient. Think about this. If you're going to call 2,000 sellers via cold calling, you've got to dial 2,000 people. And then you got to, on average, how many minutes is it going to take per phone call? It is a lot of time, and you have to set it aside. When you do inbound, you do not have this problem. So if I send out 5,000 pieces of whatever direct mail, and then 20 people call me, I only deal with 20 phone calls. Whereas outbound, you have to attempt to reach out to 2,000 people, and then you might only be able to talk to 20 people when it's said and done. That's what I mean by efficiency. You can argue this till you turn blue. The efficiency of inbound is so much more. Now, keep in mind, just because someone calls you on inbound doesn't always mean they're motivated. You will get people that have a lot of time to waste in their life, and they will chew you out. Remember, every call you get in inbound marketing is an opportunity, and that's why you have to look at it. Never get upset when someone calls to chew you out, tell you to F off. Hey, it's an opportunity. They gave you their personal phone number, and that has a lot of value for you. So just keep that in mind. You have to detach from the outcome. And when they chew you out, you just got to listen. I want to just thank you for calling me at the opportunity. I really appreciate it. Don't get cute with it. So let's talk about the cons of inbound. There are cons. Cost is the biggest one. It costs money, guys. And here's the challenge. Even if you have the money when you start out wholesaling, most of you don't understand how to handle phones. You don't know how to qualify, and you don't know what to ask for. If you want to learn more on how to do this, go over to freewholesaling.com. We teach you the magic 4 qualifying questions, MCTP. Trust me, it's all at freewholesaling.com. Check it out. But cost is the biggest downfall of this because you have to set up systems. So if you do direct mail, if you do online, whatever you do, it all costs money because you've got to get in front of your target audience, and it's going to cost you money to do that. That's the downside, guys. But I want you to understand it's so scalable and it's so efficient. It works out really well for you to do it that way. So you've got to understand the cost. The second part, which I've already mentioned to, is there's a learning curve. And this is why I don't want brand new wholesalers that have no experience to necessarily start out with this method, because you don't know how to talk to people and you don't know how to qualify them. So if you spend thousands of dollars on an inbound marketing program and you don't understand how to talk to people, it can be disastrous for you. Some of you can suck it up and get through it. Some of you guys don't have thousands of dollars to waste. That's why we teach you outbound marketing first. It doesn't mean you don't do inbound marketing. It just means you're going to have to practice and you're really going to have to pay attention, because you're never going to wait till you know everything in wholesaling. But if you want to scale your operations, inbound leads, definitely the ticket. If you can get past the cost and the learning curve, we can help you out at freewholesaling.com. It's not that big of a deal, but it is going to be new to you. And I don't want you guys to waste money on it. So once you understand those two, so let's talk about this. What is the best inbound lead? Highly controversial. I definitely have my opinions on this, but I'm going to walk you through each one of them. And some of them you guys are going to overlook on them. Number one, first one is networking. Wait a minute, Rick. I thought you were talking about inbound leads. Listen, if you do networking correctly, meaning you're going to hand out old school, old fashioned business cards, you can maybe go to a re-event, you network with investors before and after the meeting, and after the meeting in the parking lot is where the best networking goes, is you talk to them and maybe they want to do a joint venture with you. Maybe they have a property they want to work with you on. Maybe they have a buyer for one of your deals. That's where you want to connect with them, and they're going to call you. And that is an example of inbound marketing by handing out business cards old school. Remember, when you network with people, the key is make sure you provide them value before they provide it to you. That's how you get a strong networking group. But once again, if you're going to network with realtors, you're going to network with brokers, with title companies, with real estate lawyers, with probate lawyers, with property management companies, these are all valuable inbound marketing methods, and they should get you leads. A lot of people overlook this. I'm just here to tell you, this will be around forever. Now, how you hand them out your business cards, I know they got these things where you can just tap your phones and you can share contacts with simple Apple devices. Make it super simple for people and just network. Networking is one of my greatest forms of inbound leads still, because honestly, is the cheapest and most efficient. And usually when I get an inbound lead from my networking sources, it's usually a very highly reliable source, and I make a ton of money doing that. So keep that in mind with that. The obvious ones is going to be direct mail. There's basically two types of sources you can do with direct mail. It's going to be letters and postcards. I'm going to give you the him and the haw of both of them. I did letters forever, and I'm going to be honest with you, letters versus postcards typically outperform postcards. And I'm a postcard guy. Here's the problem with letters. They're more than twice the cost of postcards. That's why I don't do them. Listen, it's already expensive enough, but letters can be long format, 8.5 by 11. And most people that put out letters, they put way too much information on it, and they usually kill it by their envelope because they put some sort of sticker or some sort of automated printing on there with a barcode. And a lot of times that mail doesn't get opened because people think it's automated. Now, if you have a handwritten or you do like a handwritten software, you got a much better shot, and that's fine with it. But letters on average are almost twice the cost. You have to have a letter. You have to print on it. They got to trifold it. They got to put it in the envelope, and they have to use an envelope. So the envelope, the letter, the printing, and the additional postage. Honestly, it's just why I stay away from letter. If you could afford to do it in a perfect world, but honestly, if you get the same deal from a postcard as you do a letter, you might as well cut your cost almost in half. I like to use postcard. Now, the advantage of using postcards is you have to be precise and you have to put in it. You can't over-explain yourself on a postcard. And yes, people do this all the time. If you want to figure out really how to use postcards, check out the ROS postcard we use. I've been using it for years. There's nothing else like it on the market. And it really makes sellers initiate reaching out to you because you give them an offer. So if you want to learn more how to do this, you go to mailingmastery.com. It's all in freewholesaling.com. It's there. But when you start out doing this, I prefer postcards. One side, you are going to have the addressee with the person you're mailing it out to. On the other side, you're going to have your message. Now, usually leave your message on both sides, but I'm here to tell you, You have to understand this on any type of direct mail you do. The less you put in it, the better you're going to do. Because if you try to over explain your services, there is no reason for them to call you. Whenever you do any type of inbound marketing, you have to give them a call to action. And a call to action simply is you have to make the seller curious enough to call you. How do you make him curious? Give them an offer at the RS postcard. Honestly, if you try to overpay them for the house, they're going to go, what are you, crazy? And if you try to underpay them, they're going to call you and tell you, are you crazy? Either way, they're going to compare it to their Zillow, their Zestimate, and they're going to call you. Now, if you're targeting the right list, this is an incredible plan and it works very well. Why I like postcards for roughly, it's going to cost you on average about 50 cents. It's probably closer to 53 to 54 cents now with a new cost of postage. But if you wanted to send out 1,000 letters, it's about 500 bucks. If you do it with letters, you're going to double those numbers. And for that reason is why I am out. And by the way, here's a little tip on inbound marketing for direct mail. I do not mail the same person 5 postcards. It does not work. I've tried it. Yes, I've heard every expert in the field, but I've been in this business for 21 years. If they don't get it after 2 or 3 mailings, they will never get it. Honestly, I mail them once and I might mail them 1 or 2 times the rest of the year, and that's it. Okay. I do not agree with he or she who spends the most marketing win, because you can go broke doing that. And what's the point of doing that in wholesaling? So keep that in mind with it. The main difference on direct mail between postcards and letters. And by the way, probates does not fall under this category. You guys do your own letters. I give you the templates for it. And you print it on your own printer and you put them out once or twice a week. The next one, lumpy mail. What does he mean by lumpy mail? This is when you send, say, if someone, you found a house and say it's in your neighborhood, it's been vacant for years and nobody can find the owner, nobody can figure it out. Sometimes you can send what we call like a lumpy mail. And this costs money. I'm not going to lie to you. It's anywhere from 10 to 20 bucks. And you send them an odd piece of mail that someone, if they get it, they're definitely going to open it. Maybe it's a pop-up video. Maybe it's a thumb drive with a video. They even have these little, for like 20 bucks, a one-time use video thing that will replay a video on it with like a thumb drive. They even have like birthday cards for this stuff, but it's unique. You're taking a risk with it, but hopefully you have a high probability of them getting it. Another way is if you send, if you put on someone's door and it looks like a FedEx package, maybe it's got a big eagle on there, and then you put in like a very lumpy package in there of like letters and pictures. The idea is to get the seller's attention. How do you do it? With big lumpy mail, stuff that sticks out like a sore thumb. Listen, I even had a mailing campaign once where I stuck $1. I think I did 2,000 mailers. I stuck $1 in each one and go, listen, I'm paying you $1 to call me back. They called. You have no idea how many people called. It didn't work out, but I'm telling you, that would be a lumpy mail idea. Something you go above and beyond that goes, you do something that nobody else has ever done before, but you usually have to do it on a small scale, because if you did it on a big scale, it would cost you a fortune to do that. So keep that in mind on the lumpy mail. Next one, often overlooked inbound, is Bandit Signs. Bandit Signs, you put a phone number on there. Here's how Bandit Signs guys work. It's real simple. I've probably put out over 1 million Bandit Signs, and I'm not exaggerating that number. I did so many Bandit Signs. I bought a company for Bandit Signs exclusively. I paid way too much more money for it, but I wanted the machines, I wanted the warehouse, and I ran it. And here's the one thing I've learned from Bandit Signs after doing them for a very long time. White or yellow are your colors. You're going to pay more for yellow because they have to color the sign. Number 2, 18 by 24 and only print on one side, because the coroplast is made from oil, and because the products got so much more expensive, they've made it thinner. So if you print on one side, it bleeds through the other side. So if you have a sunny day, you guys think you're like doubling your message by putting it on both sides. It screws the message up. So white sign, black ink. You could do a yellow sign, black ink. That's pretty much the standard. Blue ink works too on yellow or white. It stands out. Reds never worked. And by the way, the UV ink they put on these signs is extremely expensive. That's why these things are so expensive to produce. The biggest mistake you can go out and make is buy a pack of 500 or 1,000 signs. You have them shipped to your office or your home. They're very expensive to ship. They're heavy. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's not going to help you get a deal any faster. Take that sign and go get the big giant Sharpie marker, the real fat black one. You go to your box stores and get them Home Depot, Lowe's. And you simply write on the top one, sell your house today, any condition, anytime, and then put the phone number in big print. Put out 10 to 15 signs and see if they stick, see if you get phone calls. And that's how you find your sweet spots with Bandit Signs. Make sure you check with your local city and county ordinances. God knows I got in trouble with this, and you probably will eventually too, but sometimes you do what you got to do to get the hustle. Now, look wherever you see these dating sites and these mattress signs companies, because they're the ones who put out the most Bandit Signs. And if you can strike an agreement with those people, you would be amazed on how much you guys can get done together. You could share printing costs. You could share staffing to put the signs out. Maybe you put them out one weekend, the other puts them out the other weekend, but you'll have to get someone you trust. Guys, don't overlook Bandit Signs. I love Bandit Signs, and they actually work really well. And it is an old school inbound marketing process, but it works well. The old school way is to go out and put out 100, 200 signs on a weekend. It doesn't work like that anymore. You have to go out with a guerrilla marketing approach, put out 10 or 12 signs and see if they stick and see if you get traction from them. And here's the biggest secret. Ready? And this goes for direct mail too. The number one telltale of success of inbound marketing is you have to answer your phone, preferably live. Answer the dang phones. If you don't answer your phone and it goes to voicemail, you got to hear the voicemail. Most of the time they hang up on you, and then you got to call them back and you got to play this phone tag. It can cost you hours and hours of time just to answer the dang phone. It makes people feel better. And here's the key part is just answer the phone just like it's you. Just say, hello, hey, it's Rick, whatever, and just answer the phones. The next inbound is the digital Bandit Signs. And this works the same way. If you want to learn how to do this, go over to freewholesaling.com. We teach you how to put Bandit Signs inside your organic Facebook groups, your Instagram groups, your Pinterest, your whatevers. It works really well. You just basically use the power of rapport building, and then you use bridging statements to let them know that not only do I love dogs, but I buy houses for cash. If you got one that needs to be sold, I would love to help everybody out here and do some dog sitting while I'm doing it. You have to do it in that kind of manner, because if you do it any other way, it comes off as spam and you're going to be kicked out of all these groups. I got a message on this today. If you're just going to spam, I am not your guy. I ain't going to teach you how to do it because it annoys me. And people do it in our group all the time. The next one is PPC, which means pay per click. And I'm going to tell you, you need to avoid this one at all costs, because the cost is at a number that most of you can't stomach. Ask me how I know this. The average paid per click budget for a good wholesaler is around 15,000 is the lightest I ever see. 20 to 30 grand a month is what you need to spend. And it takes 6 months to even get profitable. So you would have to commit over $100,000 to even try this technique. And you're going to have someone who's really fast and really good with this stuff. The people that do best already have a PPC background with Google, AdSense, YouTube, all that other stuff. And that is a requirement. If not, you have to hire someone. And every guru will tell you, just hire this guy or hire that guy. And they always tell me, give me another 6 months, give me another 6 months. It's like built into the repertoire. I've hired all these people. If you have a partner that has experience in this, you actually have a shot at doing it, but it is high risk, high reward type of deal. You've got to be very fast on your leads. So when someone responds to a paid per click lead, it's usually on a web page, you get an email notification. And honestly, you got like 5 to 7 minutes to respond, because they're filling out like 10 other forms while you do that. So, and by the way, it goes 7 days a week. It doesn't take a break for holidays, weekends, nights, or anything. And you're going to have to do the same. That's why it's hard for like someone who's just starting out doing it. The next one you always hear about, oh my God, Facebook ads, they're the best thing in the world. Listen, there's certain markets this technique actually works. But on average, if you give me 10 markets, I'll give you 9 failed Facebook ad campaigns. It seems so easy. You just go through Facebook, you give them your credit card. Setting up the ads is somewhat complex. And here's the problem. Facebook is constantly changing it. And I'll let you in a little secret. Facebook does not like wholesalers. Google, they could care less. But Facebook, they do not like us. And a lot of your ads will get ghosted, all sorts of stuff. And honestly, the biggest powerful statement you'll ever hear about Facebook ads is, oh my God, the leads are so cheap. The cost per lead so cheap, between $8 and $12 a lead. Guys, stop looking at the stat. It's pointless. If I get 100 leads for $8 and it cost me $800 that month, and I got zero traction, I didn't get a deal, what do you care what the cost per lead is? I'd rather have one lead for $3,000 and make $30,000. That is a better return for my money. So the biggest thing you'll see with Facebook ads is it's always a consultant, by the way, always a consultant, never a wholesaler, or they're a former wholesaler and they can make more money by showing you how to do Facebook ads. They're what they call consultant Consultants are people who don't have skin in the game, but tell you how to be successful, even though they're not anymore. Just the truth. Got to get a lot of crap for that one. But the problem with Facebook is nobody goes to Facebook to sell their house. Let me repeat. Nobody goes to Facebook. I'm going to log into Facebook because I want to sell my house today. They're typically going to go to Google, Bing, stuff like that, and go in the search engines. Facebook is for entertainment, connecting with family and friends, and getting their dopamine rush of like the next hit of information, the latest gossip and juice on it. Facebook does not qualify that for lead generations for people who are motivated to sell their house. And on average, with a realtor, the average nurture time, meaning how long you have to engage a prospect on Facebook before they turn into business for a realtor, ready for this? 12 to 18 months. How long do you think it's going to take to convert them to actually sell their house? It's probably going to take you as long, if not longer. So are you willing to talk to someone for free for 12 to 18 months before they sell you a house? And the odds are they probably, listen, they didn't come off any list. They came off of Facebook. And 9 times out of 10, these people all need realtors. I don't like Facebook ads. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but for the most part, you give me 10 markets, I'll give you 9 failed campaigns. There's got to be a reason for this, guys. Stop focusing on the cost per lead. I don't care if it's a nickel. If they are a waste of time, your return on your time is horrendous on this. And remember, nobody goes to Facebook to sell their house. They go to Google, they go to Bing, they go to actual search engines. Facebook is not a search engine. Test me on this. So, guys, that's it. That's all I have on inbound leads. I love inbound leads. The one thing that some of us have overlooked is when you do inbound leads, for the most part, especially with direct mail, Bandit Signs a little sketchy, it's legal. So as much as SMS, the carriers, and the cold calling, you're getting cracked down on the carriers, with inbound type of leads, you don't have this problem. And if someone else says, I'm calling the police because you sent me a piece of direct mail, you can call the police. There's nothing the police can do because the United States government has allowed, because I paid my postage stamp fee, my tax, so to speak, it is 100% legal. You can sleep all night knowing it's 100% legal. That's why a lot of people do. It's legal, it's scalable, and it's highly efficient. And at some point, you guys are going to have to look at your operations, go, Rick, at some point, cold call does choke you out a little bit. And my goal is you get enough deals on your belt and experience so you can teach a cold caller how to replace yourself, and then you manage the KPIs. You know how many calls they have to make, you know what their average length of calls are going to be, and what their closing percentages should be, because you did it. And then you can teach them. If you don't go through that journey, you can't teach other people. And once you do that, you can take your newfound time and then you can institute one of these inbound marketing leads. If it's direct mail, I don't care if it's PPC, even Bandit Signs, you'll have more bandwidth to do that stuff, because at some point you can't cold call forever. I've never ever met someone that can cold call forever. And if they do, they usually have a very sour attitude. You only have so much bandwidth to talk to people. In your first 2 years, you want to cold call as many people as humanly possibly. And then you can come back and goes, I remember I was in the trenches cold calling every day for 2 years. And honestly, some of you are 4 or 5 years. The more you do it, the more experience you're going to have and the better business owner you're going to be down the road. So keep that in mind. If you're not doing inbound, don't panic. The idea of this live stream was to give you a vision of what it looks like if you're going to add these types and why you would do it. The reason most of you don't do it is because you're inexperienced and you lack the capital to do it. But I'm here to tell you, it can switch quickly. Once you understand how to talk to sellers, you start getting deals under contract. Why not do inbound marketing? If you want to learn more on how to do inbound marketing tactics, go to freewholesaling.com. I'm going to put that on the bottom here. And then what we are going to do is we are going to get to your questions. So let me take this off. That was how I left that up there. Take that off.